is something touched me underneath my chin, and it was just, I just felt violated at the time, and I just knew that I had to fight it, so I threw it down.
It's bringing some emotion up again. Were you afraid?
Yes, I was scared. I was molested when I was younger. I don't know if that was something with it.
Yes, actually there are certain kinds of demons that, and as a matter of fact, I'll tell you another thing that's interesting, and that is that there's a common thread between people who have what they call UFO abduction experiences. That Professor John Mack of Harvard University studied this phenomenon until he passed away a few years ago. But he found that most UFO abductees had been molested as children. I mean, like 95% of them.
That's interesting.
And so what we are dealing with, not necessarily literally an alien force, but figuratively and perhaps literally, there are alien forces that are at work. And I was thinking about this earlier today, and I'm glad you called because of this. I want to talk about Jesus for a minute. If there was a man, which I believe there was, named Jesus, who was able to raise people from the dead, that would mean that that human being was an embodiment of God. Now, you take a person who commits a horrible, murder, or violates a child. Literally, that person then becomes an embodiment of evil.
Yeah.
Okay, so there are only two embodiments, in my opinion, and from my experience in life, those of the good and those of the evil. And so whatever it is that violated you as a child was an embodiment of evil, and it put a mark on you. And everybody that's been violated has like a marker. Like, you know how they put a toe tag on a dead person?
Right.
Or if you were in the hospital, they put a bracelet around you just to identify you. Well, there's identifiers.
Okay.
And whether it's people who come into your life, or whether it's metaphysical forces that are at work, to touch you under the chin, that's something that sometimes a lover will do to another lover. You know what I'm saying? To put the finger under the chin.
Right.
As if to draw you closer. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay. And so what you had was, you had an encounter, but see, when you were a child, you didn't fight back. You couldn't fight back. No. But as this adult, you felt that you had to fight back. And so what your dream is showing you is that you will not be a victim again.
Good.
And that you shouldn't be afraid. And I will tell you this, whoever's listening, and I tell this to my children, if you ever begin to have those kinds of dreams, always remember, use the name of Jesus. Invoke the name of Jesus.
Okay.
Okay? And because if it's some alien force that's coming to invade your being, it cannot resist. It has to obey.
Okay.
Because the light shines through the darkness and the darkness comprehends it not. And if you have the wherewithal in your life, and I do this consciously, when I feel that I'm stressed, I meditate, and I also call upon the Christ to give me strength.
Okay. Yeah.
And so, it seems to me that was a very important moment for you, because it was a transition point from you. See, because you immediately told me that you had been violated as a child. So there was a marker on you. I think maybe what you have done is now pulled off the tag. Now, maybe it'll come back. Maybe these things will happen to you. But each time, you see, you're moving closer and closer toward becoming a fully free person, right? But the most important thing that I have to tell everyone is that consistency follows commitment. So you must be very committed to staying, with the program of learning to be quiet, and the process then unfolds and it frees you systematically through every layer of your life, even in your dreams.
Okay.
Are you using the exercise?
Yes,
See,
I have that.
if you weren't using that, I don't think the same outcome would have happened. Because I'll tell you another thing. As long as we're on this topic, I knew a woman years ago, a very attractive woman, and she was she was a fine artist. She was like a cartoon artist, and she worked for movie studios. But she told me once that she had a dream where this creature crawled up on her, was trying to have intercourse with her. And she was afraid of it. And you have to realize that if you don't have a shield, or if you don't have armor, or if you don't have the weapons the right kind of understanding, these beings that we cannot see, we don't detect them with our eyes. We detect them with these sensors that are beyond vision, the consciousness, the conscience itself. These things are slithering everywhere on our planet. And if you don't believe that hell is on this earth, I'll tell you that the manifestations of evil, this is the world that we live in. And there are more of those beings than there have ever been at any point in time, because there are more people who have been seduced by them through the popular culture, through all the seductions of the world. And then as people pass away, they leave, residual energy behind. And so there are things coming and going between dimensions here, just like Jesus came back and had supper with his disciples after he rose from the dead. These things come back too. Remember, zombies are resurrection figures. They're just evil ones.
Yes, definitely.
So you be not afraid. Fear not.
No, I won't. I realize that consistency is important. It's sometimes
don't ever
when
give
things
up.
Get a little better, you kind of tend to relax.
No. See, that's what it is that though. See, there's always going to be the next thing you have to deal with.
Right.
So when things are better, that's when to start kind of looking around, to start surveying your environment, start to surveying your own self. You can never really let your hair down. The price of freedom is constant vigilance. You always have to be aware.
I see that.
Narrow is the path that leads to life, and few are those that find it. But broad is the way that leads to destruction, and many go that way. Now, what I understand is that if you're on a narrow path, it means it requires your attention. You understand? If you're going along the side of a cliff that's only a foot wide, one step is all it takes to fall into the abyss, right?
Right.
One misstep. So whenever you get seduced by an idea, it can come from anywhere. It may hear a song on the radio. I mean, I'm listening to the radio these days, and it's just way out there with a lot of the heavy metal music. They're just pounding away at these evil thoughts.
Right. I've heard.
I'm telling you, they're not trying to hide anything anymore.
No.
And we're so sort of desensitized to it. So you realize when you get desensitized, that's when you're just sort of like, hey, everybody does this kind of stuff,
Right.